What's going on, young lady? How are you?
Oh my God, so busy. I came back from vacation and now I'm like, why did I come back?
First world problems. I thought maybe you were moving to Maui with in the pilgrimage with everyone else.
I know everybody's in Maui. Like, what's up with that? And I keep missing
I
out.
don't
I keep going to
know.
the wrong island.
Oh, you didn't see it? You didn't see any of them out there?
No, because I went to Kona. I first went to Kauai, and then my next time around, I went to Kona. So I missed Maui completely.
Ah, okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was I thought it was part of your plan to kind of meet up with all them and everything.
I know. I tried. Maui didn't
Yeah,
happen. But
that's okay.
in March, but we'll miss you.
Yeah, I know. I'm bummed. I mean, unless they cancel the events in Florida, but it's a pretty big event for me to go to, so I gotta
Yeah, you got to do
I
that.
I gotta do that. Yeah, there's no way I can't. So
Right.
it's a pretty big jump for me. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll give everybody. I know people got to jump on, so we'll kind of let the numbers roll in here for a couple minutes. So we got. I see we got 24, 25. We'll see how Leka does in bringing in numbers. See how you do, Leka. So what you got going on lately? How's that property you've been working on, that multifamily historical thing you had?
Um, I have a few. It's going great. It's going great. Construction is full swing. Hopefully, they're all going to be rented out here pretty quickly. I'm actually just going to go see a property now, right after this, to buy. It'll be my first short-term rental, my first
Oh, cool.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
Never ventured in that space, so first time. I'm excited. I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Those
That
are
one
cool.
actually has a funny story, which I'd love to share.
Okay, cool. How's James doing? You been talking to him lately?
Yes, he's doing good. So there's two people on his team that basically, I love and adore and have helped me grow my business here. And I'm
Yeah.
taking them both out to dinner tomorrow night. And so I'm
Oh,
really excited.
good. Yeah, he's such a good guy.
He's so good.
Yeah, I
He
know.
hires the best people and they all work for me. So I'm like, awesome. I
Yeah,
don't
that
have
is
to
good.
give the hiring or retaining. Meanwhile, I get all the I just reap the benefits.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's good. I'm gonna have him on actually. I think I'm gonna see if I can get him to come on here because he's got so much knowledge and
Oh my
experience and
God.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes,
it's awesome.
for sure.
All right. Well, I see we got more people jumping on, so I will kind of get this started. Daniela, are you here or are you still doing whatever you?
Here.
Oh, thank you, Daniela.
I'm here. Hello.
Nice, nice. Okay, cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today is going to be a great show. My very good friend Leka is here. We have a lot of history together. We have been in masterminds out in Maui with the whole uh, BiggerPockets crew. We've done speaking events together. We've walked through hoarder houses together, which we won't talk about or show pictures of, but we've done all that. And she has an amazing story. She's moved here from India 13 years ago, maybe 14 now, came from corporate America, got into real estate, just jumped headfirst with the same tenacity. And this girl is just on fire. She's always impressing me. Every time I see what she's doing or I talk to her, I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm so far behind the game. And she is willing to come on today. She's flipping, she's doing Burrs, she's looking into land development. As you heard, she's talking about getting a short-term rental. So it's going to be a great, great episode. Please make sure you take a lot of notes because you're going to learn a lot. She's flipped over 40 houses. I mean, the girl's just doing everything. And she's like not doing it small. If anyone knows anything about the Seattle market's a bit tough. So please make sure you pay attention to her. And I want to make sure that we give her the respect and ability to speak. So if you guys are doing anything, snapping, grinding, chatting, Tindering, whatever it is you do, please stop. Give us the attention, mute yourself, and make sure that we give our full attention to Leka. And we're going to kind of talk about everything. So I see we have more people coming on. Yeah. And also if wherever you're watching from, let us know, put it in the chat. And also put your Instagram handle on here so that we kind of know where your Instagram is. Oh, we got someone from Seattle. Nice. Mexico. Yeah, Danielle, I know. Wow, cool. Very cool. We got a lot of different people. Very nice. I'm just looking at, I'm watching all the things pop up here. So look, one thing I've learned is that real estate is a very, very small world. I think you guys are learning. People like Leka and I, we hang out, we know each other. Definitely the furthest thing from competitors and even if we were in the same market. I mean, some of the best people I've met are basically all in the Seattle market, and they have all been nothing but nice and gracious and thoughtful. And I guess on paper, you could say that they're competitors really, but they're really not. And I think what you'll find is people like us are in a like-minded mindset, which is a like-minded community. And we want to make sure that we all give back. And so I do have something that I need to discuss. I'm just going to kind of briefly go over this with you. I just want to thank everyone who's been a part of the mastermind in one way or another. I've always been told that you can always make more money, but we can never make more time. And so the fact that everyone has been on this masterminds and watching and replaying and sharing this, I'm truly grateful that everyone is giving their time. When I started the mastermind a year ago, I just wanted to help people, as many people as possible, so that I could help them avoid making the same mistakes that I've made. I've been doing this over 20 years. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'm hoping that what you're all learning here is definitely something that you will carry on past and you can take with you. And I think it's important that we always give back and we always pay it forward. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. I think people that know me, if you reach out to me, if you ask me questions, I'm always trying to give back. And my goal is to save you 20 years of frustration and put you on that fast track. And I guess a question, do you guys on here, do you see what I'm giving you? Is this the accountability and the continually adding value? If you guys notice, is there value for you? I'd like, just put it in the comments because I'd like to know if you're getting some value. Awesome. Good. That's good to know. That's good to know. And I hope that in one way or another, that I can continue doing that moving forward. I honestly think within the next 6 to 12 months, there will be more wealth created in real estate than anywhere else in the last decade. I firmly believe that. I think that this is the time. I think what you don't want to do is you don't want to be one of the people that sits on the sidelines and watches it happen. I knew a lot of people back in 2008 that they were, and they wish they didn't. And I hope that you're not that person. And I also hope that you don't just jump in, buy the wrong property, make the big mistakes, and end up losing everything that you own, because that can also happen. And I don't want that to happen to you. And I think we all agree that it makes sense that you guys are on the tip of the spear making that happen. And what I want to do is I want to make that happen for you. And that's kind of my goal, to make that a reality. As much as I want everyone to have unlimited success and make as much money as they want, I kind of have to make a decision for myself of what I want in 2021 moving forward. And I had to come to a decision. And so I had to basically come up with 2 options for myself. And so my first option is that I just stop doing the mastermind so that I could take advantage of everything that I know and maybe take on some one-on-one clients, charge my normal rate of $1,500 an hour when I do selective training. But I'll be honest with you, to me, that's a bit hypocritical of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help the masses. And if I do that, that's kind of counterintuitive of the whole mastermind and what I've done. My option 2 is that in order for me to get these top level people that I'm trying to bring on, I'll give you an example. Next month in March, I am getting on stage with Brad Lee, Ed Milet, and Randy Couture, and I'm asked to speak. And I'm trying to bring them back. I want to bring these people back to the mastermind. And the only way I can do that is by getting full involvement of everyone involved. And I've got to add some value by charging something. So in order for me to keep it as low as possible, I've decided to basically, for about $10 a session, which is about $47 a month, I am going to start charging for the mastermind. Basically the cost of 2 cups of coffee, 2 Starbucks, well, maybe 1 Starbucks, depending on what you put in it, is what I'm going to be charging moving forward with the mastermind. Now, The people that I bring on and the lessons, I think we all agree that there is value here. I know that people charge $100, $200, $300. I have been paid thousands of dollars to speak on stage, but that's not what I'm about. I want to bring everybody top level people that we would never normally get, but these people charge money. And that's the reality, right? They want to be paid if they come on. The only way I can bring them on is if I pay them money. And for me to get top level software and everything like that costs money. So most people are actually pretty shocked that I've never charged up until this point. So I am offering an early bird special or promotion. I forget what they call it. $47 is only going to be for 2 weeks. After that, it is going to go up to $97 moving forward. But for everyone that is in the mastermind, which hopefully you guys have all gotten value from, I'm making it as cheap as possible because I would love to be able to fill it all with just like-minded people. I don't need a lot of people not taking action. I need a few people that I can bring in, the Ed Miletts of the world, the Andy Frisellas, all these people, to give you some hardcore knowledge that we could not normally get. And so what you're going to get is obviously the live calls. You'll get these exclusive interviews that you will be a part of with Q&A. I'm going to create a extremely private Facebook community just for this. And you'll also get access to all the past trainings. Now, if I'm already coaching you, so if anyone's on here that I'm already coaching, that will be included in the mastermind. I'm going to include that because you've already made the commitment to me. And I think it's only fair that I give back to you. So if you go to Live Think Tank, and maybe Daniela, you could put it in the chat, livethinktank.com is where, if you want to sign up. And again, you have 2 weeks to decide, but I'm not taking a lot of people. I want a small group of focused people, and that's why I'm making it as cheap as possible. So if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But again, I had to make a decision. Do I want to level up and give everyone that next level, or do I keep it where it's at? And I think we all agree, if we want to be successful in 2021, we've all got to do something that we haven't done before. And that means maybe foregoing a Starbucks a week to be able to have the value of an Ed Milet or the opportunities that I can bring. So that's the news I have. If you guys have questions, you're happy to ask, you can go sign up on the website, and I'm happy to be able to give that to you. Again, this is just something that I have firmly believe in. I don't want to quit doing it, but I've got to do it to where I can add more value for everyone, because I don't want this to be just something that fizzles out. So that's what I have. Next, Miss Leka.
Hello. Thank you for having me here, Steve.
Yeah. So I know you were pretty surprised that I didn't even charge, right?
I know, I host a virtual meetup every month, and I don't charge either, but I know how much work goes into it. And it takes effort to bring speakers on and, do all the marketing. And I just think, you doing this so often, like, I was a little surprised because it's essentially taking time out of your busy day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a lot. I mean, to really give value, right? To,
Right.
and not only that, but anyone who knows that reaches out to me, I mean, I'm always available for them. So for people that want to, if you don't want to take action and you don't want to be held accountable and you don't want to be successful, then I'm probably not the right person. You probably shouldn't even be listening to me. If you want to be that person, which I think most of us here want that, the question is it worth, $10 a week? I would say it's kind of ridiculous if you would say no. Maybe you don't. I don't know that. And that's fine. I'm probably not the right person for you anyways. Maybe you're in traffic and you got nothing better to do for this 1 hour that you have. So,
okay, I'm going to share with you guys something. Okay. Maybe too much too soon, but we're going to go for it. So I've been working out for years, and this year I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to get ripped. And the only way that I'm going to do that is actually by paying for personal training sessions, because if I didn't pay, then, there's always going to be a property walkthrough that I have to go see. There's always going to be a buyer that needs my attention. There's always going to be a contractor that I need to put out fires with. So I was like, the only way that I can avoid making excuses is by paying for really expensive sessions that I can't cancel on. And that's what's going to keep me accountable, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like that. Like, you can attend, there's 1,000 virtual events that you can attend. But the minute you start paying for something, you're going to add value, and it's going to cause you to take action. It's going to cause you to put everything that is not a priority on the back burner and really go forward and, take actionable items out of events like this and go utilize them in your everyday work.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
the way I look at it is all professional people, professional athletes, professional speakers, professional everybody has a mentor or coach. If you are not getting I don't even care if it's me, but if you don't have someone who's holding you accountable, do you really think you're being professional? Like, are you really going to excel? Next time you get on an airplane and you're sitting in the back and the power's put up on the throttles, don't you wish that person has someone who's actually teaching them how to be a pilot before they take off? You're going to wish, boy, I hope this guy actually knows what he's doing and he's trained and he's not just like, I kind of know what I'm doing. I did this 20 years ago. I can get by. You're not going to want that. It's and you may be doing the same thing with your business, creating financial suicide. So look, I agree. And this goes, kind of like what we're going to kind of talk about is, you've got to level up, right? If you don't use me, if you don't use anyone, I don't really care. It doesn't change my life. My life will be fine. I do this to help people. But look, you change, and I'd like to segue into this because you went from corporate America to real estate.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious is I'd like for you to tell your story, but the reality is I don't know anyone that's gone from real estate back into corporate America. I've never met that person. Have you?
No.
No, because you're getting something, you're getting that freedom that you want. So why not expand that and be the best you could be? Because we all know we're going down this path, right? So tell us about your story, Leka, because it's a great story. I love hearing it.
Okay, so I grew up in India and I moved to the country when I was 24, and I moved to Seattle, Washington, and Nordstrom Corporate is headquartered here, and I was a fashion merchandiser back in India. And so when I moved here, it was a very easy transition for me to go back into merchandising, and that's what I kind of did. And so I went into Nordstrom Corporate. It was the most dream come true job I could have asked for. Anybody would have killed to be in my position because, I was essentially buying evening gowns for 117 stores across the country. And so, like, who doesn't want to be surrounded by sequins and beads? And like, this was just a fangirl moment, like super fun. And I was at an event and everybody was talking about how long they had been there, and something happened to me that day and I was like, wow, if I were to just sit here and do my job 9 to 5 every day, like, what am I giving back to the world? What kind of legacy am I building? I wasn't making, like, my job demanded me to be there certain number of hours, report to certain people, deal with different personalities in the workspace, but I wasn't getting paid enough. Like, I wasn't getting compensated for all the work that I was doing. And, I was like, why continue to grind to make someone else really wealthy where, I'm not doing anything to build my own legacy. I'm not doing anything entrepreneurial. I'm not using my abilities, to the maximum potential. So I'm like, what can I do that'll make me do all these things? What can I do that'll absolutely push me out of my comfort zone and push those boundaries? And maybe even be an inspiration to my younger brother and sister, right? Like, what can I do? So that's when I decided, okay, I have to start researching other options, because I had really it wasn't a requirement that I go out and seek another job opportunity. I wasn't after the money. I wasn't after the fame. Like, it wasn't any of that, right? So something in me motivated me to do that. And then I started researching different things. And I got really excited about the prospect of new construction. And so I started researching that. And I was like, man, this is not for me because, land development takes time. Finding the deal takes time. I was in a hot Seattle market. Like, why would anybody sell me a piece of land with no prior construction background? And then, the permitting phase, and then the whole building phase, like, all that was going to take me about 2 to 3 years to do one deal. And I was like, wow, that's like a long time to go. There's so much uncertainty in the market, like, long time to go without having a paycheck. So as I started researching that, I came across Fortune Builders, which is a fix and flip education company. And I went to, I think they had like a 2 or 3 day seminar. I did that. And then sure enough, they had like a whole like course that they were selling. And I was like, man, I could just sit here and not do anything about this because this is an expensive course, or I could pay for it. And that is exactly what goes, back to
Yeah.
what we were talking about. I could pay for it, and then that's going to help make me have to do something about it.
What year was this,
That's
by the way? What year was this?
that was 2014.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's my 8th year in the business. And if you asked me in 2014 if I was going to do this for 8 years, I'd be like, no way. Like, I thought this was like a short term, I'm going to do it, I'm going to fail, and then I'm going to go back to corporate America.
Right.
That was kind of like, I was such bad mindset. But I was like, that's, it's the honest truth is I thought I was going to fail miserably, but at least I would have given it a good shot.
Sure.
And so that's kind of what I did. I paid for this course. It was a very expensive course. I think it was 25 grand in 2014. And so I started researching real estate. I started reading up on all the education material that they were throwing at me. I didn't watch TV for, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months. Like, I hadn't even turned on the TV. I was like, no, I don't have time for this, because I had my job, and then I would come back and I would research real estate. And that's all I would do is podcasts, books, just immersing myself. And then I said, okay, the only way that I can truly take action is if I actually quit my job and gave this my 100%. And so that's what I did is,
so you basically
yeah,
burned your boats.
burn the boats. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I did. I quit my job. My boss thought I was crazy because I had fought so hard to be there, but I quit my job, and then I started researching more real estate and doing it full time. And then I started to meet the right people. I bought my first deal, flipped a house, and the journey continued.
Right. So let me ask you this: for people watching this, what did you learn that if you went back and you had to basically bullet point some of the top things that led to your success? Because you're very successful now. You have a completely, as you said, a completely different mindset. What would you say are some of the bullet points that you could go back and say, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, that would be those takeaways you would extract from your lessons?
I think motivation is key. Like, nobody is motivating you. Nobody is holding you accountable, because what are they holding you accountable for, right? Like, there's no roadmap. So I think going back, it was first getting in the mindset. That was key. Getting myself motivated every day. And how did I do that? I would like basically create a plan for every day that was different from the last day, making it exciting for myself, making it new, making me want to go out and just venture into other things. And then I think the most important thing, which has, really propelled my business, that I preach about every day, even today, is networking. I think that was the key. Networking, meeting the right people, meeting different kinds of people that were actually doing what I wanted to do. And I continue to do that today.
Now, let me ask you this. And by the way, if you guys have questions for Leka, put them in the chat and we'll get to them. Daniela can kind of get to them. But if you have questions, because this girl is just killing it. We haven't even tipped it. We're at the tip of the iceberg here of what she's done. But let's say you went back to your first flip. And I think this is important for people watching that are a little nervous. What kind of things did you tell yourself that were basically, we'll say, made up, that never actually happened, that you would go back and be like, I can't believe that that stopped me? Because we all know that inaction is the biggest thing, and it's fear, which is made up of something in our heads, and that causes us not to move forward. And then if you go back, you're like, that wasn't even real. That was like the fake boogeyman in the closet scenario. What can you think of those?
Yes. The very, very first thing that I said to myself was, I'm a woman in a very male dominated, you know, career path, right?
Right.
Or space. I said, why would anybody take me seriously? Okay. Second, I was an immigrant. Again, I had no experience at all. I was 26 when I learned the difference between a dime and a nickel and a penny. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know the currency. So, I mean, if this is not limiting beliefs, then what is, right? Like, it's like to the core. And then the next one is, I had no support system here. Like I had no friends or family that invested in real estate. So like, why would I be successful? All
Right.
my friends were in tech. They were doctors. They were really smart people, but nobody was, investing in real estate. That was like a big, like, I mean, I knew some real estate brokers and that was it. I didn't know anything, anybody else in this space.
Did any of the things that go through your head and the negative self-talk and all the worst case end of the world scenarios, did any of those happen?
Yes. Um, so, I said to myself, I was like, why would a contractor take me seriously? Because I have no construction knowledge. Like, they could totally mess up my electrical and I wouldn't know, or my plumbing and I wouldn't know. And sure enough, they did, you know, they did, it happened. I mean, I told myself I was going to fail miserably on my first flip. Like I didn't want it to be that way. There was an optimistic side of me that kept saying, you'll be okay. But there was a pessimistic side of me that kept saying, it's going to happen. This house is going to come down. It's going to come crashing. There's going to be a fire. There's going to be a tree that falls on the roof, whatever it is, right? Luckily, that didn't happen. But the first flip that I did was challenging. I could have lost a lot of money, but I lost about 5 grand. It was more manageable, but that happened.
So let me ask you this. When
Mhm.
those things happened, okay, so shit went wrong, you
Oh
had
yeah.
problems, right? I mean, it's all fucked up and you're like, okay, this sucks.
What do I do? Yeah.
Right. So how did you fix it?
Yeah. So I went through my first flip. And then I was at a crossroads. I was like, okay, do I want to continue to do this? Because that was the most hard, like 5 months of my life, period. Like when there's a lot of money on the line,
Sure.
it just, it
Makes you
pushes
nervous, it gives you that feeling and yeah.
yeah, right. And it pushes the risk to a whole other level, right? So I had to think about it. And I said, you know what? Do I continue to do this? Or should I just go back to Nordstrom, where they're going to welcome me with open arms and I can go back to doing what I know best? Um, but that's why your network is important because, I reached out to my friends who I then made through this process, my mentors. And I think that was what was huge is because I saw other people like me doing this. I saw other people like me buying their first flip, failing, and then buying their second flip. And so I was like, okay, let me give it another shot. Let me buy another property. I've like basically I have so much experience with what not to do from the first flip that I'm like, I have to use that to make a profit on the second flip.
Sure.
And so I did that. I went and I bought another flip and I made like 35 grand. And I was like, wow, this process can work. This process can actually work if I did it right.
Interesting. Okay. So Melissa is asking, how did you find funding for your flips if you had no track record?
So on the very first deal, I did use a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. And then I used a hard money lender. And hard money lenders, they don't care about your experience. They don't care about your financing, your own personal financing situation. It is asset backed lending. And so all they care about is that deal a good deal or a bad deal? The hard money lending company that I went to was the same company that actually brought me the deal to flip. And so they kind of supported the deal and supported the ARV and supported the rehab budget. And that's how I got my financing done.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand too, folks, is a lot of times people think of, I hear people talking about like hard money lenders, almost like they're the enemy, like they're going to try to get over on you and this and that. That is, are they out there? Absolutely. Will people take advantage of you? Absolutely, if you allow that. But the majority of people out there, they need the velocity of that money working. If you can get that deal and take their money and get it back to them, that's the velocity of their money working. They just want to keep that going. They are only interested in your success. Like I've got a buddy of mine, he's a hard money lender here in Houston. And he's like, I asked him one time, I said, how many properties have you taken back? He's like, maybe one a year. He's like, I think during 2008, we took back like 14 or 15, but he's like, I don't want properties. He's like, I mean, I have my own, but he's like, I'm not interested in taking back properties. So we have the perception that like they're the enemy or they're against us or they want to rip us off. And that is not the case. I mean, I know James and, up was that who you started working with the first time, or was that someone else?
No, it was East Side Funding. So it was someone else. But like Charles, I'm actually on the board of a hard money lending company. And I know that we've only, in the 3 years of being like hardcore lenders, we've only taken back one property.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, exactly. You have to change your mindset. Everybody is moving forward. You're sometimes the only one who's thinking that you're working against the current, and you are the problem in the whole thing. So again, like you talk to all these people that are doing business, they want that wheel to keep spinning. Normally, right. The investor that's apprehensive, that's always looking for the problem. You look for a problem, guess what? You're going to find a problem. Find it. And so that's kind of the challenge that we have, is a lot of times we always looking for problems where everyone else is like, let's roll, like, let's do this. We got a couple other questions here. Leka, did your mentors come organically or through networking? Or organically through networking?
It happened through networking. And when you network, you kind of get attracted to like-minded people. Yep. And my mentor at the time was young, and he had, flipped a few homes, way more homes than I had. He had this like fire that basically attracted me to him. And he then started a small mastermind group, kind of like this, but in person. And I started going to his mastermind group, and, eventually he became a very close mentor that I'm still friends with, that he still sometimes mentors me. And it's amazing.
And you know what you'll find is these mentors and people, I have people that I've coached and mentored that I'm friends with. And, we were out in Vegas when I was filming 2 weeks ago, and Chris and Sheena, we went and had lunch and we hung out. But, you start, again, we have common interests. It's not like I'm talking to someone that's totally opposite of what I do. And you start to become friends. I mean, we were out, out in Maui together with Leka and all them. And then Taro had his big event in Seattle, and we all hung out, and we all do real estate. We all do something different, but we're all friends. And I think our core of who we are is really the essence of that. And I think, look, I've had so many of the people that I know call up and ask me questions, and I've done the same for them. I'm not an expert in a lot of these things. And I've done actually quite a few deals with a lot of these people since then, because we're all like-minded. And right. I think you'll find that there's more of that if you embrace it and you actually engage that way, than kind of having the opposite and always looking for someone to rip you off. So Ron is saying, Leka, I'm a fellow fortune builder as well with a similar story. I had major setback 2 years ago due to my health. Oh, kidney transplant. Wow. Okay. I'm much better now. That's good to know. And ready to get back to work. Any tips on what I can do to make up for lost time? Question is for you. I'm thinking to say you as well, Steve. I'll let you go first, Leka, and then I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, Ron, glad that you're doing much better now. But it's not lost time. Maybe it was a good thing you were out of the market at the time, right? I think now just go back to figuring out which market you want to be in. Once you have that nailed down, find people that are actually sourcing deals. I don't know if you want to be in fix and flip or commercial or Burrs, rentals, but find your core wholesalers, or if you're doing direct mail, right? I don't know what your background is, but I would say go back into your network, throw it out there, like join the Facebook groups, go find Instagram influencers in your market and just direct message them. Say, hey, I'm looking for a deal. I'm willing to partner. I'm willing to JV. Like, what can I do? And just do one deal, and that's it. You're back in the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I've, if you want massive results, you got to take massive action. That's my personal belief, and if you want small results, you take small action. But at the end of the day, you're still moving the needle forward. And so I think the biggest challenge we have is creating muscle memory of getting in the repetition of doing the same thing over and over again for good habits. We all have habits, right? We form habits. We form good habits and we form bad habits. And it's all muscle memory of what we do, which is caused by our beliefs. So if you can change the muscle memory and change the repetitions of what you're doing to be effective and taking action, even if they're small steps, it's going in the right direction. So you've got to, I mean, I'm a big believer in changing how you think, because that is the core of it all. So, you know, a lot of us have this imposter syndrome where we're doing stuff, but we don't really believe we deserve it. We don't deserve the success. We don't deserve the recognition. We don't deserve the deal to make us money. And that's just the story we tell ourselves. And so you already have the knowledge, Ron, in my opinion. You've already done it all. You've got it all up here. You just have to retrain your brain to get the repetitions to go in the right direction. And sometimes that's just someone holding you accountable. Sometimes that's holding yourself accountable. Sometimes it's just waking up and making the list and making sure that you accomplish everything on that list. And the next day you make another list, just like Leka. You said that's how you started, right? You made a list and then the next day you made another list, right?
Yeah, you know, the other thing is when I first started, someone told me this and I thought this was amazing. You have to, in your calendar, go look at your calendar and see how many of those appointments are income generating. And if they're not income generating, get rid of them. Because if you're meeting one wholesaler that's going to bring you a property, then that's income generating. If you're just meeting someone for coffee to talk about real estate, that is not income generating. That can wait. So, especially when you're getting back, when you're first starting out, it's important to only create those appointments that are going to help you take massive action, like Steve said.
Yeah. And I think also you've got to remember that you have the opportunity cost. If you're saying yes to someone with coffee, you're saying no to something else. You just don't realize what you're saying no to. You could be saying no to $100,000 profit deal walking right behind you, and you never noticed because you're focused on somebody that's not making you money. And I'm not saying you don't have coffee with someone, but I'm saying you've got to learn to prioritize where your time is spent. And if your time is focused on spending money, just like I had said, I had to make a decision. So I made a conscious decision. At first, the conscious decision was to do all this for free. Then I had to make a decision saying, okay, I need to make a decision. Either I start charging my normal rate or I go this other route. I decided I'm going to go the other route and I'm going to keep helping people. But again, I have to make, these are focused and intentional. And I think that if you want to be successful in life, it doesn't happen by chance. Leka doesn't happen to fall out of the Nordstrom's corporate culture and fall into a flip and fall into a Burr, fall into land. That doesn't just happen by chance. It happens because she's focused and intentional. And, you know, for all of us to think that it's naive of us, that we're not going to get hit in the face, we're not going to have taken advantage of, things aren't going to happen. It's kind of our fault for being naive enough to think that that is not going to happen. At least in my opinion. What are your thoughts, Leka?
Oh my God, 100%. So I lost 65 grand on deal number 37, right? If you're going to sit here and think, wow, okay, I've now done 10 deals and that's it, nothing bad's ever going to happen, you are so wrong, right? So I thought I had the foundation like down solid. And then I got hit with this deal where I lost the most money I've ever lost on a deal. But you know, shit happens, and the best way to move forward from that is by doing. And then on the flip that I did right after that one deal, I made 225 grand. So if I left the business saying, oh my God, that last flip was miserable, like I'm never going to flip another house again, then I would have totally lost out on that massive opportunity, right? So things happen. It's about how you rebound and how you position yourself for that mistake to not happen again. And
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it was like I bought this deal from the same wholesaler from James.
I'd like to hear about this. I'd like to hear the story about the $65,000 hit.
Yeah, so you know, it was actually a super cute house in a really up and coming neighborhood in Seattle called Kirkland, which is super high end, you know, very family oriented. They just put in an amazing strip mall right down the street from this house. That has a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, a Salt and like just like amazing stuff. So you think that this is a very up and coming market, like, you know, what could go wrong? So I bought this deal, and I bought it from the same wholesaler that I buy all my deals from James Daynard. You know, and so I was like, what could go wrong, right? But the first thing that went wrong was the city like basically came down on us, and the plan that we had to rebuild this house, and they basically said, you can't build this extra bathroom, you can't put a room here. So then we had to change the floor plan. When I changed the floor plan, it made the house not so conducive to a mass market. It became very like single person market. And this was a very family oriented neighborhood, like, it was younger couples with younger kids. So having one bedroom on the main floor basically meant that a larger family or a family with a young kid could not basically live on the same floor. And so that was a big challenge. But also what happened was the city inspector was so hard on us that we had to go through this house was 1,100 square feet. We had to go through 27 inspections. Like, who even does that?
Wow.
27 building inspections. They dinged us on everything. We were grandfathered into egress windows. They said, nope, sorry, not in our code. You have to redo everything, right? So my rehab budget
How
just
is that
kept
even
going
possible? I mean, I'm
higher.
thinking in my mind, what could they possibly look at that many times?
It is so bad. So it was just awful. And so our rehab budget just kept going higher and higher and higher. And then this is the cherry on the cake. The market, the hot Seattle market, there was a little switch. What happened was Amazon was contemplating a head tax. So basically, they froze all hiring, and people just stopped buying homes. Interest rates just started to go up, and then people thought, oh my god, like freaking out. Oh, interest rates are going to go up super high. Let's just stop our home search. So it was not one factor, but it was like a
Sure.
many different factors. So then what happened was when I bought the house, my after repair value was 750K. When I went to list the house, my after repair value was 650K.
Whoa.
Right. So it was like a big, like everything hit me at one time. And then we listed the house, and because of the quirky floor plan, it sat on our market for 3, maybe 4 months, and no house of mine has ever, like, my house is sell in 2 weeks. So to be sitting on the market for 3 4 months is like what I was like, okay, I'm gonna just like I'm gonna move into this house, because I don't know what to do with it. But eventually we sold it and all was well. And the same wholesaler who works for James Daner, the same wholesaler then felt so bad for me that he brought me my next Burr, which is a fantastic Burr. And it's forever going to, it's just going to keep growing in my portfolio because I'm going to 1031 it and 1031 it and 1031 it. It's awesome property. And he bought me my next flip that made me 225 grand. So because he felt bad for me, and I never once, said, hey, it was because of you. I never
Didn't
blamed
blame
him
him,
for
right?
it. And so I took massive ownership, and I was like, it's okay, it happens. You guys always sell me the best deals, but it could happen to anybody. And that's it. We moved on, and we're all still best friends. So
No, that's great. And so I'm curious, anybody who's on here, have you had any challenges of flips that you want to talk to us about? Because I'm pretty experienced. Leka's probably more experienced than I am in it. So if you have a question or advice on how to handle a situation, this would probably be the time to ask us, is my opinion, because you're getting some people, especially, well, Leka more than me, very, very experienced in a very tough market. And while people may chime in or not, I'm curious, can you talk about that deal that you told me about, the one in the historic area? I love this. I love this story.
yes, yeah. So I sold my condo, which used to be my primary residence. Then it was just part of our rental portfolio. We ended up selling it and made, a pretty good amount of money, and wanted to 1031 that into a property. And so I enlisted 75 brokers across the country to go find me deals, including Steve. I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
reached out to me.
somebody,
Yeah.
like anybody, just find me a deal that I could 1031 this property into. It was my first 1031 exchange. So I was like, super nervous about that. I was like, what if I don't find a deal, right? So I started analyzing deals, and I literally overnight, like I would learn about that new market. I would start running numbers for the market, looking to see if it would make a viable rental. So I had researched so many different markets in the country. Then I had also told my friends in Seattle that I was looking for a property, and one real estate broker ended up finding this deal it was a triplex, and it was listed for 1.45 million in downtown Seattle. And we all knew that that was way too expensive. And now it was off market. The listing had expired. They'd taken it off the market. And she had just kept in touch with the sellers to see if, they would come down in price. And she finally went back to them and said, hey, I have a very serious buyer, but we're only going to offer 1.3. And luckily for us, they agreed, they accepted, and we went under contract. Then we did our inspection, and then we were able to get that contract price negotiated down further to 1.2 million. But you have to imagine this is a triplex for 1.2 million, right? So there's a lot of risk because that's a lot of money to be putting into one building. But it's right next to Amazon, right next to Facebook, right next to Expedia, downtown Seattle, great market. That's what we did. Then I bought the house. I bought the triplex. We rented out the units. It's a very distressed property. So my goal for this property is this year, we're already working on permits to convert it into a fiveplex by adding another 300 grand into the rehabilitation portion. But what's cool is this property appreciated almost 500 grand since I bought it a year ago. So I closed on it it was February 1st, 2020. And through COVID, the property value has gone up to almost 1.6, 1.7, if I were to just sell it today. Because in Seattle, we have no inventory. We have a very, very appreciating market. But at the same time, this is one property where I made no rental income. Every month, I'm actually spending about $1,200 to keep this property alive. Paying property taxes, insurance, because my rent doesn't cover all this. But if you have the holding power and you find the right property, then that appreciation can really carry you over. So it all depends on your market.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I think people need to realize is a lot of people focus on just the cash flow or the immediate. And sometimes it's a play, right? Sometimes it's a hold play where you go, you know what, I'm going to hold this for 3 years, 4 years. And yeah, maybe I'll lose $40,000, but I'll make $700,000 in 4 years. So as long as I can hold it and go negative, it's called, I was taught it was called negative geared property, where you're going negative on the property, but you're doing that for a reason, because that in value, it's just going up. So, would I spend $100,000 to make $1 million in profit? I would do that. And if, all indicators are showing that it's there. So I think it's a great deal. I love hearing the story. I'm waiting to hear when it finalizes, because I've been hearing about this as we've been going. So I'll be curious to hear how it goes.
Yeah, our tenants, all their leases end in June. And so that's when we're going to start the reconstruction. Because they've been on like 1 year leases and whatnot. So
very cool. All right. So Tyler, my man Tyler in Denver, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts related to burring an expensive market. I know the more expensive the market, the harder the burr becomes, just due to ratios of equity that you have to get. He's in Denver, same thing, which is why most deals shake out as better flips than burrs.
Okay, so I have a really fun burr story for you guys. Yes, I do burrs in this market. And the reason I can do them is because I'm always networking and I'm finding these properties that are super undervalued. And then I'm also like in construction and I like flipping. And so rehabbing is my forte. And it couldn't, maybe it's not yours, maybe your strengths are different. But given that I like to rehab properties, I buy super distressed properties. And by buying distressed, I can add value, create more equity, and then burr out of it for a full cash out refinance. But here's the thing. So last week I was on a virtual webinar or virtual meetup just like this one. And I only had 10 minutes to attend this meetup, but it's a local Seattle meetup. And I like attending it once a week because the rest of the week I'm attending meetups that are all across the country, meeting people from different parts of the country. So I'm like, okay.
That's because you're a big deal.
I don't know. It's also fun and I like networking, meeting new people. But I always want to go back to a local Seattle meetup just to keep in touch with, eviction moratoriums and then just our core like city laws and permit situations and what all my friends in the city are doing. So I go to this meetup. I had 10 minutes. And I'm attending the meetup and I'm also sending out all my emails. But I was like partially listening to someone that was talking, and it was an old friend of mine that was also a Fortune Builder student actually, and we go way back. We started the program together, and he was like, "Hey, so I have this house. It's an off-market deal. We're going to be listing it next week, but if any of you want it, it's available. The contract's available for assignment, and it would make a great Burr." And there's 40 of us on this call. And I jumped in and I said, "Hey, I'll buy that deal." Because I'm expecting in my head for him to say that this house is about 400K, which is the median price point in my county. He says, the assignment is 210K. And
The
I was like,
assignment fee or the assignment
not the
price?
assignment fee, the purchase price of the home plus the assignment was 210 grand, where the median price is 400K. And I was like, wait, that's like crazy. It's a small house, but even our condos sell for more, right? So I'm like waiting for someone else to jump up and say, "Hey, I'll buy that deal." Nobody did. And I was like, "Jake, I'll buy that from you today." And he said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, just send me photos, send me, a purchase and sale, and I'll look it over. And if the numbers are still making sense, because that is super low, like I'll buy it." So while we were on the call, he literally sent me a text with the property address, all the photos. And I'm like, "Wow, this is a really cute house." I was like, "Jake, go ahead and write up the purchase and sale, and I'll get it." And he's like, "Okay." And then I said, "It's sight unseen. So just put in like a 3-day inspection period. And then we can go look at it." So sure enough, he did that, went under contract within like 5 hours of that call, went and saw the house the next day. It is so darn cute. It is
Really?
8 minutes from the Seattle Tacoma International Airport.
Oh,
And it's on a nice 3,000 square foot lot that if I just painted the exterior and refinance the property, I mean, the tax assessed value is 296. And what's happening here is that it's an estate sale. So the person that owned the property passed away about a month ago. His sons live in California. They don't want to be bugged with the property. They just want to get rid of it and move on. They don't care, what money they make on it. And so he was like, "Yeah, we have this, they want 200K and then 10K for assignment, and that's it." And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah." So I just sent this property to my lender, and my lender came back and said that he can get it appraised for 310.
wow.
And all I need to do is paint the exterior, which would cost me about $3,500. And so that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to convert that into my first Airbnb short-term rental because it's so close to the airport.
Yeah.
And we should make, I don't know, a gross income of 35K on this property as an Airbnb. And my PITI is maybe about 12 grand, So I'm just like sitting here and I'm like on this call and I'm like, anyone could have had that property. Anyone could have bought it, right? But I guess, when you've done so many deals, you just know what a good deal.
Well, I think it's the muscle memory. It's like, all
It
of a sudden you just, right, from swinging that golf club so many times. I think it's one of those things. And that's why, I always tell people, like, if you're not analyzing hundreds of deals per week,
Yes.
when people say like, "Oh, there's no deals out there," and I ask them, "Well, how many deals have you looked at this week?" 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, when you look at 200, then come back and tell me there's no deals." Because like you said, it's the deals are there. You're just not recognizing them because it's not in your filter to know that it's a deal.
That's absolutely right, because I am such a nerd. And when I have a few minutes to spare, I'm on Zillow or Redfin, just analyzing markets and just, looking to see, okay, I want to be in this market, like what's going on here. And so when he said those numbers, I know the area, I know what the median price point is, I know how big homes are and how big the lot size is. Like I know all that just from investing in this market for the last 7 years. And that's why I was able to make that quick decision and say, no matter what the condition of the property is, that's only secondary. I know that I'm getting a good deal on the property.
Yeah. Yeah. These are very good questions, guys. So I like all these questions. So Jason James had a question. Leka, have you ever completed a JV deal on a Burr, and how was it structured?
Yes. So I bought a deal in Tampa, Florida. It's a triplex, and I did do a JV. because I just didn't want to put my own money in. So what my JV partner did was he lent the down payment on this. And I would found the deal. I found the financing. So the financing still in my name. All he did was do the bridge financing. And every month, whatever cash flow we make, which is like, I don't know, on this property, it's about $800. We just split it 50-50. And then the way that the JV is set up is that when we sell the property, whatever equity profit we make on it, we split 50-50. And that's just one way of setting it up. Like you could do like just a straight up interest rate every month, or you could do a balloon at the end, when you go to sell the property. It just depends on your JV partner.
Yeah. And the only thing I would say is when you're doing these partnerships, don't just do it when things are great, right? Don't just talk about the great case scenarios. If you're going to go into a JV or some kind of partnership, talk about what if things go wrong, and if you have to divorce each other, and how you split up the assets and dissolve the company. Everyone always says like, oh, this person, I'm great friends with them. We'll never fight. It's like, that's why you have to have that discussion so that you can keep your friendship, because when things go bad and you're under the heat of battle, when money's on the line, you would be amazed at what people say and what people do. And it's not normally good. And normally it sours the friendship or relationship because you didn't set that conversation or expectation in the beginning. So I always recommend have an expectation meeting and bring in the partner's spouse or significant other, because they are going to sway what that person thinks. And
Right.
if you don't know that they have a problem, they could be directing that person and you never even knew it. And it could actually, I've seen some major derailment of deals because of a spouse just did not like that person or whatever. So that's my only advice if you're going to get into some kind of partnership.
So true.
All right, Leka, we got time for one more question. Does anyone have one last question for her? Oh, I see. Michael's got one here. Is it easier for you to find a flip, Burr, or buy and hold?
It doesn't have to be exclusive. Your flip could become a buy and hold if it was a bad deal, and your flip could become a Burr if it was a really good deal. But yes, the easiest to find for me are flips. It's harder in my market to find a Burr, and a buy and hold a lot of times doesn't make sense because they're so expensive. The property values are really expensive. So.
Yeah, it's tough to make that work.
Yeah.
All right. So one thing I want to talk about, I think it's funny that I'm going to put you on the spot here, Leka. So Leka and I have known each other for several years, but this just shows, let me just say that this just shows that you don't know when you're networking, who you run into, who you meet, who that person is. Leka, could you explain how you thought of me when we first met?
Oh my God. I mean,
You're turning red.
What? I thought Steve was, I don't know, Steve. What
year was this? What was this? 2017, maybe?
17. Yeah.
2017. So I was speaking at Tarl Yarber has this big event. So I went up there and spoke. Tarl and I are good friends. She's good friends. And I don't even remember really having a conversation with you, but apparently I don't know if we did or not, but go ahead.
Yeah. And so I met Steve again in 2018 at a mastermind, and he's like, oh my gosh, so great to meet you, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, we've met before. Like we met at Tarl's event before. And you were like, did you even remember that?
I don't remember meeting the first time.
Yeah, he didn't remember. And we like had dinner together. We like sat right next to each other at a table, had dinner. Tarl's wife, Grace, introduced us. And I'm like, Steve, like me, like, we had dinner, like, what's going on? And he's like, well, I have no recollection.
But you didn't like me at first.
And I didn't like him at first. I had to tell him that after.
She did have to tell me that.
Oh my God, Steve is so full of himself. Like, I just don't like him, right? And my God, I actually got to know Steve in 2018. And I was like, he is amazing. He inspires me. He motivates me. He's all about giving back. Like the things that you think about, like, your whole like first sight, first love situation. I was like, oh, I think Steve's like so stuck up, but he's just like this amazing, amazing friend that I cherish this relationship. And just to put Steve on the spot, we were at a hoarder house a few months ago, and
Yes,
at
we
the hoarder
were.
house, we saw lots of cool things. The one thing that we did see were these blonde wigs, and Steve was funny enough to put one on. And
I think we all, me, you, investor girl Britt,
Investor Girl Britt and Ashley Care
and Ashley Care, I think we all had wigs on,
and Serena, we all had like these
and
blonde wigs
Serena,
on
yes. Yeah. So if you
and
could
these rocker
imagine,
jackets.
there was probably $100 million of real estate owned between all of us in a someone's James's SUV, Cadillac SUV. We all climb in and we go into a house that was a hoarder house that he was flipping, that was still hoarded. And so we all roll up to this house at, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night because we thought it was a good idea, which was not. But
after a whole day of conferencing.
Yes. After
we were all speakers at this conference. We were exhausted.
Yeah.
But then at 11 p.m., we're like, let's go check out this hoarder house.
Yes. And so we all roll up in one car, like 12 of us in one car, which was interesting itself. And we started exploring this house that was, I probably shouldn't even say all the things that we saw there, but it was one of those things that if there was a TV show, that would have been it. And so he did a video series on it, didn't he?
He did. It's on his YouTube. You have to go check it out. Like we saw a Hershey's bar, or like a few Hershey's bars there from 2012.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't put everything from the hoarder house on his video, I'm guessing, that we saw, but
it was nasty.
It was nasty. Yeah. Well, anyways, Leka, first of all, gosh, I love talking to you. You are just such an inspiration and everything that you do. And I hope everyone on here got value out of her. If they want to follow you, and I know you authored the book with Ashley, and yes. I mean, you just done so much. How do they find you and get a hold of you?
So you can find me on my Instagram, just my first and last name, Leka Devta. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Leka Devta. And I'd love to connect with you in either of those two spaces.
Yeah. And she's got a great meetup. You guys should check it out. It's really good. I was on it. You had Ken McElroy, 2 weeks ago or last week? That's awesome.
Yep. That was amazing. He brought so much knowledge to this.
And the whole thing is you want to be around these types of people. That's what this is about, right? This whole thing. And, you know, I like I said, I hope I give you guys value. I hope everyone gives you value. Like I said, you've got 2 weeks. If you want to stay on here, you're welcome to. If you want to invite people, that's great. Yeah, that's all I got. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Rozenberg Speed. Oh, everybody, please put your Instagram handle on here. And don't forget to take our picture so that we can all have this and share it. Please on Instagram, tag Leka, tag myself, so we can all get some notoriety for knowing such an amazing person. So on the count of 3, we're going to take a picture. 1, 2, 3. All right. You guys should have been able to do that for now. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. We're going to be back next week. It's going to be Mindset Monday. I'm going to be on solo talking about mindset and everything going on, giving everybody the right track for 2021. I've got some great content to push through some of these boundaries. And again, go to the livethinktank.com. You can sign up. Again, it's an early bird special until next week. Next week's the last week, and then it's going to be kicked up quite a bit. So if you want to join and continue being a part, meet people like Ed Milet and some of these other amazing people, if I can get them on, it's going to be good. Leka, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. And yes, I would highly recommend joining his mastermind. He's one of the most authentic people I know now. And so, and he just adds so much value. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, guys. All right. We will see you guys next week. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.